Slim and none.
Right.
Slim and none. I don't see, as I said before, I don't see who beats Usyk.
Because I don't think the crowd, the public, are screaming for Parker Usyk.
Tyson Fury telling us he's watched fights 250 times. I mean, maybe get over it, Tyson. You lost.
There's 19 heavyweights better than Usyk.
In my opinion, Joe
Don't you
Fraser.
think that Usyk puts his name in that argument when you're talking about even with the Muhammad Ali's because of what he's done?
Well, that's what I'm saying. He's in the top 20. You got
Fighters are not. They're not bottlers. They're not quitters. That's the wrong terminology. Yeah. So you can say that. Look, he's had enough. He'd had enough at that point. Yeah.
He almost needs to bring that crazy man back. You know that where he creates a bit of fear for Moses.
We do need you on this show.
Well, we don't need you. We might
no, we want you on. We want you.
Your favourite head up the arse moment, which is Anthony Joshua.
Who are you talking to, me or Sorry,
I have heard rumours circulating of maybe a possibility that he fights Tony Yoka.
No.
Yeah?
No, I mean...
No, it doesn't happen, or no, you don't want it?
No, I don't want it.
No.
Where's the attraction in that?
But if AJ were to blow Bacoli out of the water, then, I mean, it's all systems go for Fury and it becomes the biggest thing since sliced bread.
Welcome to episode 131 of Talk Boxing with Simon Jordan and Spencer Oliver. Joining us today is three-weight world champion Duke McKenzie and apparently the voice of the zone boxing, Adi Oladipo. Nice to see you, mate.
Apparent about it.
Here you go. Listen, before we, on a more serious note, before we go into recent events, we lost a two-weight world champion in Whyte on Friday.
Yeah.
Great fighter.
Yeah, 72 years of age. Massive loss. You know, he was a real big character. I actually met him out in Vegas. We used to do London versus Vegas. My dad used to do all them trips, Anthony Joshua and everyone else boxed over there. But lovely guy, unbelievable. Only 5'5", you know, like heavyweight champion.
Fighting John Conte, weren't we?
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, that's right. Of course, yeah, he was a phenomenal fighter. And yeah, sad loss.
Let's move on, obviously, and having paid our tributes to one of boxing's legends, and the dust is beginning to settle on the events, post the Dubois Usyk fights. But we're now beginning to see various outcomes and opportunities that might present themselves to various fighters. What do you think is next, or what have you heard is next for Oleksandr Usyk?
Well, the WBO have ordered that he boxes against Joseph Parker next.
Yeah.
They've got 30 days to decide whether he's going to go through with that. I'm not sure that Turkey Sheikh, Riyadh Season are interested in that fight. If they're not interested in the fight, then he has to vacate the title and we get Joseph Parker versus the number one, which is Moses Itauma, which could be an interesting fight. So there's lots of moving parts going on at the moment with this whole situation and whether we keep the titles together, whether they become fragmented. But the WBO, fair play, have ordered it, and Joseph Parker will get his shot.
I mean, most people think that there's a distinct possibility that he may well vacate, but in the event that he doesn't, let's have a listen to Joseph Parker talking on this show last week about the potential of that fight. Now, given that you are such an admirer of his and you appreciate the skill because you're an appreciator of skill, what makes you think that you've got the toolkit to dethrone him?
I believe wholeheartedly in my ability and what I can do in the ring. I have full confidence that give me a good camp or give me some time to put in the work with Andy Lee and George Lockhart. Want to come up with a good game plan, probably different to everyone else's one, and just work hard.
But given you have had one round since March 24, is it the right move for you to take this opportunity rather than having a fight in between it to get yourself into a situation where you're really in the zone?
That is a good question, because I've had one fight in 2024, one this year. And activity is key, and he's been very busy, you say.
What is the reason behind you only having one round, Joe? Like, politics of the sport?
I have no idea.
You've been knocking on the door,
I've been knocking on the door, I've been asking for any fight and every fight. Who knows, right?
Duke, two questions for you. Firstly, do you think that fight materialises? And if it does, where do you put Parker's chance in that fight?
I don't think the fight materialises, Simon, because I can't really see Usyk fighting just... Well, I mean, listen, he could fight Joseph Parker, but I just don't see it happening because, I don't think it's enough time. I think, is it 30 days the WBO have given them to negotiate?
Yeah, or it goes to purse bids,
and it goes to purse bids. I don't know if that's enough time. And secondly...
Do you think the principles... I mean, I'll ask a loaded question about Oleksandr Usyk and where he goes next.
OK.
Because he made a big deal a while ago about the opportunity that AJ gave him. And he did a brilliant article in the Mail where he talked about everything I've got has come as a result of the association with Anthony Joshua and winning those fights. So that makes him understand the principles of the opportunity that he was given. Isn't it incumbent upon him to have the same sort of attitude that Joe Parker is entitled to have the same opportunity that was afforded him when Anthony Joshua was the kingmaker.
Yeah, it doesn't really work like that, though, does it? You know, I don't think Usyk is at that place now where he looks at himself and thinks to himself, you know what, I'll give him a shot because he deserves it.
You don't think so?
No, I don't think he
Even
does.
with the character of the man?
Yeah, don't get me wrong. I think I'm not questioning his character or his motives. I just think to myself, Oleksandr Usyk's already stated he wants one more fight, and hopefully that'll be in the Ukraine for him. Don't know if Joseph Parker's going to get that fight in the Ukraine. Might fight Joseph Parker somewhere else, but I don't think it's going to be in Ukraine. So Usyk might just retire.
But do you think Parker has a chance? The second part of the question was, do you think Parker has a chance in that fight?
Slim and none.
Right.
Slim and none. I don't see, as I said before, I don't see who beats Usyk. He's a brilliant all-rounder.
Do you think that this fight happens, Addy? And if you do think it happens, do you think Joe Parker is in a position to go into that fight and be successful, not only given the fact that Usyk reigns supreme, but Joe Parker's fought one round in, 18 months now?
Yeah, no.
He has to have a better preparation than just going against Marcin Bakole, doesn't he?
100%. I don't think it happens, but let's play devil's advocate and say it does happen. If it does happen, it will happen in a minimum of 7 months. Usyk's not fighting again until December, the start of next year.
Right.
So that would mean Joseph Parker's not fought for a year. And as you said, that would be one round of boxing
in nearly 2 years.
Nearly 2 years.
Yeah.
The best Joseph Parker we saw was a Joseph Parker that was busy, that was fighting every 4 or 5 months. The same with Daniel Dubois. The best Daniel Dubois we saw was Dubois that had those back-to-back fights with Miller, Hergovich, AJ.
Yep.
And then he had a long time out, and then we saw his performance Saturday just gone. So if I'm Joseph Parker, I just accept that Usyk's going to vacate and I fight the next man up.
Right.
Or have a stay busy fight. These fighters, and I saw Caballero ringside as well, these fighters all can't be waiting for Usyk. Like, stay busy and fight. You all can't be waiting for the biggest paycheck and Oleksandr Usyk. You've got to stay busy. And there's too many heavyweights, and again, it's not just Caballero and Parker, just ringside all waiting for outcomes. I'm like, fight each other. Like, why are you all not, like, why is Parker not fought Caballero? It blows my mind as to why the second and the third best heavyweights are not fighting each other.
Because they're
waiting for
interim
a belt
champions. They're
opportunity.
waiting for that world title opportunity. Like, they're waiting for the big one, and they do know that after the undisputed,
you wait, you get dry, you get out of shape, fight it. Just fight.
Understood.
And then the winner, and then the argument for the winner then fighting Usyk's massive. Caballero fights Parker, the winner, okay. And we, the crowd, would ask and dictate for it. I don't think the crowd, aside from boxing aficionados, I don't think the crowd, the public, are screaming for Parker Usyk.
No, I that's because we've had an embarrassment of riches recently, haven't we? And so, with due respect to Joe Parker, whilst we all admire the re-emergence and the resurgence of his career, when you've had Oleksandr in fighting for undisputeds left, right and centre against Tyson Fury, originally fighting against Anthony Joshua and then fighting against Daniel Dubois, and all the intrigue that Daniel Dubois was supposed to bring in this fight, then we've got this embarrassment of riches. I mean, logic says that potentially that the WBO belt gets stripped away, drops into a space where Joe Parker fights the number one, which is Moses Itauma. And we'll talk about Moses Itauma later on in the show. But I wanted to ask you, Duke, where does Usyk go? Is it all roads lead back to Tyson Fury? Tyson Fury telling us he's watched the fights 250 times. I mean, maybe get over it, Tyson. You lost. Rewriting history. But are you in favour of that fight as a third opportunity?
No, it's a money fight, certainly. Of course it is. But I think Usyk will want to stay active, stay busy. If he can get one more fight this year, Usyk, I'm not so sure it's against Tyson Fury, because Fury's doing his documentary. He's not interested in fighting right now. He's doing his Netflix.
But he did turn around and say, didn't he? He did turn around and say, if I come back, it's for a third fight to right the wrongs of the two fights. Yeah, but he doesn't get to dictate when he does that.
Yeah, but he won't. He's not going to break away from his Netflix series that he's got going on, is he? And go back.
So where does Usyk go?
So let's rephrase it. So who do you think should be next in line for Oleksandr Usyk?
Should be, who he does fight.
Yeah, who do you think commercially? What do you think is the biggest fight out there for him then?
Well, commercially, it has to be Joseph Parker, doesn't it? Because
that's what I'm saying. So that's,
he's earned the right. I just don't think that Usyk's going to play ball and go, you know what, I'll fight him just because.
You know, I spoke to Andy Lee. I spoke to Andy Lee the other day, and this was on camera, so I'm not saying anything that Andy Lee wouldn't let me say. But he said that there's been a lot of talk about Usyk having a crossover fight, and he said it's now filtered to him. And he's hearing it, and the noise is getting bigger and bigger and bigger around Oleksandr Usyk vacating. and having a crossover fight, which, look, I don't think will happen, but we saw who got in the ring with him on Saturday night, and that was Jake Paul. Who knows? Who knows? I mean, Usyk's now become such a powerful name in terms of the numbers he does, the tickets and bums on seats. Who knows if he's a viable opponent in terms of commercially for Jake Paul?
Just out of curiosity, is he? Because the bums on the seats and the dance partner are an important part of it, aren't they? Because Usyk, whilst we all marvel at his excellence and his brilliance and the statesman-like way he conducts himself, the dance partners have come to bear. Daniel Dubois, was contributing factor to filling Wembley Stadium.
Clearly, the bigger reception, do you think, when they came out? I thought it was maybe.
No, I think it was a mixed bag. Well, the Ukrainians were noisier.
I could have been wrong.
No, I think it was a 50-50 split, to be fair. I think that there was as many Usyk fans in there as there were Dubois. But Simon's right in what he says. I think
it's the dance partners that help.
Yeah, it's the dance partners. With Oleksandr Usyk, you do need that dance partner. I think, like globally, anyway, for sure. Like with the bigger names.
Can I ask you, Duke? We were having a discussion last week, and as is always the producers want, they want to compare eras and do that little bit of about who was best and who wasn't. I made the case that I thought, having spent a lot of time running around the world watching Lennox Lewis, that I think that Usyk, whilst one of the all-time greats, would struggle to have lived with Lennox Lewis. Where are you on the argument as to where Usyk sits in the pantheon of great heavyweights?
Yeah, he deserves to be in the all-time top 20. We don't know where he fits in that top 20. Because like you say, I think...
Heavyweights or
heavyweights. Not
20?
Not
20?
Top 20.
There's 19 heavyweights better than Usyk.
In my opinion. Wow. If we're looking back into the 70s and the 80s, the 90s, you look back at those kind of fighters, your Frasers, your Formers, your Alis, then you got your Lennox Lewis, your Tysons, your Riddick Bowes, your Evander Holyfields. You know what I mean? There's a lot of guys that were given, I think, Usyk a lot of trouble that aren't the real big names, like a Ray Mercer. I think Ray Mercer would give Usyk a lot of problems.
David Tua
would give him...
But Usyk equally would give them fits. His southpaw stance and movement, and those heavyweights back in the day, as much as we like to look at them, they weren't big,
Yeah, but
they weren't big. They weren't big as we think they were.
Colotta was huge.
Yeah, they were combination punches, AD. They were combination punches. They were athletes.
Was huge.
They were proper athletes.
Yeah, but someone like Joe Frazier who was relentless, but was a little bit predictable. And he'll come forward doing this. Like someone like Usyk who had that skill set and you're talking about size and all that. You go, you got to put Usyk a massive favourite over Frazier.
But the power that Frazier could
but could he land it?
Well, listen, he decked Muhammad Ali, right? The greatest of them all.
Yeah, I know.
The greatest mover and the shaker of them all. And then look what George Foreman did to Joe Frazier.
Don't you think that Usyk puts his name in that argument when you're talking about even with the Muhammad Alis because of what he's done?
Well, that's what I'm saying. He's in the top 20. You got at least 20,
and that's before you even start getting into people like Kenny Norton and people like that.
Yeah,
so was my argument for my own validation
about
Lennox Lewis a good argument?
Lennox Lewis, in my opinion, would beat Usyk. He's too big.
You heard that?
He's just as skillful.
You heard that, right?
He's got just as good a skill set as Oleksandr Usyk.
I heard it.
Yeah, and all those people out there that were calling me a tit last week,
he hits harder.
McKenzie said I'm right.
Yeah, he hits harder, pound for pound, than Usyk, because Usyk is a cruiserweight. I guarantee you that. I bet that guy, if the chips were down, he could make cruiserweight tomorrow.
But saying that, so was Evander Holyfield, and I went to both those fights, one at Madison Square Garden where he lost, and the one that he where they drew in terms of they stole the verdict from Lennox Lewis, and the one that he won the undisputed belts from, which I didn't think he won. I thought Evander Holyfield won. And let's move on to the other side of the conversations following the Usyk-Dubois fight, which is Daniel Dubois and the narrative, the running narrative that's been created around how he performed in that fight and certain aspects of what he did and didn't do. We've had a lot of people speak about it, so let's listen to those before we ask you guys what you think of it.
Yeah, could he have gotten up? Probably, but he showed that's not the person he is,
When he gets into these really hard moments in fights, that's when the real Daniel comes out. And the real Daniel doesn't want to fight.
Daniel, there are some ways that he needs to have a bit more resilience, but he didn't swallow. Tony Bellew got knocked out. Why didn't he get up and fight on?
When Daniel, first 2 shots in the fight, hit Daniel on the chin. And then that's when Daniel just quit.
When you say the first 2 shots in the fight, they went to the chin, then he quit. What do you mean by that?
I mean, like, he just folded, he just quit. I mean, like, in a way, though, not quit like walking out the ring. Quit off like, you know what? I'm just going to try and survive.
He got put down twice. What do you want him to do? Die in the ring? There's no first place for getting battered to The lad did his best. He wasn't going to win the fight. He's better off getting out of there.
You know, even though he got knocked down with a heavy punch, he was still able to get up.
Yeah. So does that mean you think he swallowed it?
I think so.
Yeah. Lawrence?
It's hard to say. But if we're going to be, I don't know what he's actually experienced on the ground, but he did seem cool by the count of 10. He was able to walk to his corner and so on. But so I don't want to say he swallowed it, but it was tough.
It so happens those two fighters who were in the studio yesterday are still currently, they're active, they're current heavyweights.
Yeah.
Yeah? God willing, he's going to meet those two characters, yeah? And let's see who swallows it. Let's see who's quitting. Yeah? Let's see who's going to swallow and who's going to quit.
I mean, we spoke about it, Duke, last week, and you said you were going to go away and have a look at it. I don't think I'm in a position to talk about fighters quitting. And I know that Spencer doesn't like it, and we'll ask him about some of the things he said in the weekend. Where are you, having watched the fight again and seen Daniel get up off the canvas, look across at his father and seem to amble across the ring? Where are you on this rather unpalatable observation that he perhaps quit?
Well, watched it again, Simon, and when he got knocked down the first time, he looked to the corner because he was looking for instruction. The first shot, the right hook. When he went down the second time, which was the second knockdown was worse than the first one, he did exactly the same thing. He was looking for instruction. But believe you me, he was gone. He didn't know where he was because he looks round to 2 or 3 different corners before he gets to makes eye contact with Don Charles. Once he makes eye contact...
Because we think he was looking for his dad, don't we? Mm-hmm. More than Don. Well, I think Don accepts that implicitly.
Yeah, I thought he was actually looking back to the corner, waiting for instruction. I could be wrong, because then he showed...
No, his father was in the corner.
His dad was in the corner.
Yeah.
All right, so he's looking for the old man, OK? So, but once he's made eye contact with the old man, then by that time, the 10th count had already gone. So then he got up. I mean... He did seem to be more...
I thought he got up on 9, didn't he?
He got up on 9.
He got up on 9, then it went to 10.
But the towel's come in as well, so I wonder if he's made eye contact with the towel being thrown in.
No, but we discussed that, and you made a very salient point about it, Spencer, and you believe that apparently, because of the challenges this boy's had about observations that have been made about him in the Joe Joyce first fight, or the fight that we lost to Joe Joyce, and the first Usyk fight, that people have now allowed their mentality to suggest that he will quit.
It's
and
too easy
so Don Charles
Don
took that away from him by throwing the towel in.
Yeah, it's too easy.
I think Don Charles recognised that he wasn't going to get up at this stage. He's looking at him, the count's going 7, 8, 9. So Don's thinking, right, look, this kid's going to get some flack for this, because they always get that, the controversy surrounding whether they could have got up, whether they couldn't get up. Let me say, you know this, right, as a fighter, fighters are not, they're not bottlers, they're not quitters. That's the wrong terminology. You go, he had enough. He recognised he wasn't going to win. But whether he had the faculties about him, whether he could have got up or couldn't have got up, like you say, like, it was a heavy knockdown. And I just think he's there and he's thinking, I can't win this fight. So there was that.
But why
do other fighters say he quit then? Because again, me and Simon, who've never laced up, it's uncomfortable for us to say it, so I wouldn't. Why do fighters say it?
If they're using the wrong words. They're using the wrong words.
What word can we use?
No, so you can say that, look, he's had enough. He'd had enough at that point, yeah? But what I'm saying, no, so you say quit, that's fair enough, all right? So that's a valid point. You can go quit. You say he swallowed it, that's shit. Because fighters don't swallow it. They don't get to that level if they swallow things.
Is it a case of terminologies? And, you know, because I said to you the other day, and I think you half agreed with me, which is he was more prepared to accept defeat than possibly I think he could and should have been.
Do you know what you do though, Simon? When you get hit and you get hurt, buzzed of a shot, in a split second you have that conversation with your inner self. Shall I get up or should I stay down?
That's my point.
Right? That's what happened with Daniel Dubois.
Okay, so he by doing that then, Duke, you're saying that he had that conversation with himself and decided to stay down?
Yeah, well, he was hurt.
It's a different conversation.
It's a close cousin.
Okay, let me explain this as well. Whilst he's having this conversation, right, and you've got that split second to decide how you're going, you've got to remember, right, it was a heavy knockdown that as well. So your faculties are all over the place. So you're not thinking straight anyway.
I'm going to bring the non-fighter and just the boxing fan to the table. Because non-fighters, when we watch what happened with Dubois, we see a guy get up at 10... and walk back to the corner quite comfortably. So not like, you know, so we're thinking Could he have got up at 8 then?
Yeah,
that's what we think.
Yeah, but different
fighters have different pain thresholds. And
there you go.
What I'm saying is he's on the floor, right? The ref's counting. You've got all this going on, all this around you, and you go, he's going, I've had enough. He's not swallowed it.
He's not swallowed it. He didn't swallow it.
They are very closely linked, those two. Those two.
Fine margins.
Very fine margins.
Yeah, absolutely. But just use
All right, well, let me package it more neatly.
Yeah, because it sounds horrible when you say it.
Let me package it more neatly then, so that people don't become offended by the answer. Did Daniel give up?
I would say
yes or no?
I'd say he recognised he'd had enough.
So did he give up?
However you want to word that.
So yes or no? Did he give up?
Well, however you want to word that. Like, yeah.
Well, I'm asking you. You're not ventriloquist, are you?
I'm recognising that.
Right size for it, but not.
I'm not in his head though. What I'm saying is, but I'm looking at him, and as an ex-fighter, I'm going. Some fighters have just got that.
Yes
dog
or no,
in them.
Duke? Because
they pull him up. Hold on.
No, he didn't. He didn't give up. He didn't give up.
Yes or no? Have some balls about you. Say what you think. Live with the consequences.
I want you to say.
Live with the consequences.
Say what you think.
I don't listen. I like Daniel Dubois.
I know you do.
want him to be successful.
I thought he knew he couldn't win.
So let's say yes then.
I thought he knew he couldn't win.
That's just my point.
He knew he couldn't win.
I'm with you on that.
Yeah.
We'll judge Daniel Dubois by what he does next.
We're both sacked.
Yeah. What can we do next?
I'm trying to close this section off on YouTube. We'll judge Daniel Dubois what he does next. Okay, next big fight in the heavyweight division is August the 16th in Saudi. The aforementioned Moses Itauma and my dear friend, Dillian Whyte. This is an interesting bit of matchmaking from Frank, isn't it, Duke?
Yes, it's an incredible piece of matchmaking by Frank Warren, because Dillian Whyte ticks all the boxes in terms of he's still a name but no longer a threat, right? And he's in against the outstanding Moses Itauma, all right? So it's another showcase for Itauma to shine and look good, but it is a potential banana skin. Yeah. For 3 rounds at least, Dillian Whyte's going to be in the fight, because the guy's got pride, if nothing else. And once he realises that he can't win the fight, then the fight takes a different turn completely.
Do we, elaborating upon that, boys, you two, do we expect Dillian, what kind of trouble can he cause Moses? He hasn't had what I consider to be a live one since 2022, and I think he went out, with due respect, with a whimper against Tyson Fury, because the levels were just evident there. So what kind of trouble and how much trouble do you think he poses young Moses?
He's dangerous. He's dangerous early on in the fight, for sure. He's very heavy-handed, Dillian. He's got those, he's got that very unorthodox style where you don't quite know where the shots are coming from. That left hook especially, he's like a sledgehammer, which you remember the Lucas Brown knockout. Well. Yeah, he's got like long levers. So look, for the first 3 or 4 rounds, he's definitely dangerous. He's definitely a live wire, and I just think it's a genius matchmaking, again, from Frank Warren, but who's so good at doing that, guiding his fighters and developing at the right time. Dillian Whyte, on paper, should be the right opponent right now for Moses, but the excitement there is he's a live opponent. He's live. Like, you've got to give him, like, he's got a shot. And that is for sure.
He can old man him to an extent. Dillian Whyte's got so much more experience than Moses Itauma. Moses is the hot shot, but ultimately,
Dillian hasn't been in. Has he been in with anything quite like Moses?
He hasn't, but I was watching some old tape of Dillian recently, and I was watching actually tape of him outside the ring as opposed to what he's doing in the ring. And he almost needs to bring that crazy man back. You know, that where he creates a bit of fear for Moses. Like the unexpected of what could happen.
The lunatic that fought after the bell against Anthony Joshua, that was completely out of control.
All of that. The guy in the face-offs, the guy in the interviews. Like, Moses would have been 9 or 10 watching Dillian Whyte in his palm doing crazy stuff. And he's almost got to remind Moses of that side of Dillian, so that there is a bit of a fear going into the ring with this guy could do anything.
I think he brings that, though. I do think he brings that.
He still brings that, Dillian?
Listen, because he'll recognise that he's going in here as a huge underdog and he's being fed to the next heavyweight champ, and he'll go, right, so how do I do that?
Strange for him to put himself in, frankly, Dillian, isn't it?
Yeah, but as a fighter, though, Duke, what do you do? Like, so Dillian's now got to play... try and get in the psychological 100%. Side. But he goes, the physicalities might not be there, but can he get inside the head?
I don't know if he's got that angry guy. That's what I'm saying. I haven't seen that fiery guy for a while.
To summon it up again. I think he goes into this fight quite quietly, quite self-assured, thinking to himself, you know what, I'm just going to let my fists do the talking. Like, say, for 3 rounds, if nothing else, he'd be quite live.
It might be interesting to see if Moses does anything to antagonise Dillian Whyte into that mindset, because if Moses shows it, I don't think he will do, because I think he's got canny people around him guiding him.
Yeah, that's
but
not
if he says
makeup,
anything,
if he says anything disrespectful to Dillian,
it might spark that.
Then Dillian should jump on him. And
You talked about there was areas that needed to improve with Moses Itauma on one of the shows that we did recently. Do you want to elaborate upon what you think those areas are?
Well, you know, if I'm going to elaborate with Moses Itauma and say what I think he's doing right and what he's doing wrong, the one thing I think he does wrong, which he absolutely telegraphs, see when he starts to pour with his right hand, he's trying to set up the backhand, and he pours with his right hand, right, and leaves it out there. To somebody like Dillian Whyte, that's an invitation to say, hit me on the chin. You can't. I wouldn't do it if I was him, because that jab's got to be like ramrod. He's got to be sticking it in his face and making sure that he knows what time it is. I don't think he won't be allowed that luxury to go and, you know, they call it jousting or fencing or whatever they want to call it, when he sticks the right hand out and he starts doing all that sort of thing. Because Dillian Whyte will knock it out of the way and put a shot straight on him. So he's got to cut that out. I'd like to see a lot more head movement from Moses Itauma, because he doesn't move his head at all. Everything's based on power and reflex.
But what we've seen with Moses when he's pouring with that southpaw jab and he's pouring out there, like you say, and he's there for that shot, he's got very quick feet. And sometimes he's just setting a trap, trying to draw his opponent into throwing a shot, which he'll try and do with Dillian. Just a little step back, and we saw him knocking out Dempsey McKean like that little half step back and ping through the middle. That's sort of like part of his game, like, is to draw the lead of the opponent.
It's different level fighting Dempsey McKean than fighting Dillian Whyte.
No, it absolutely is. But what I'm saying is that whole pouring out thing is he's doing it for a reason. He's not just holding it there. There's a thought process behind it. Yeah, of course.
Given the fact that I think we are universally agreed that we think Moses Itauma comes through this fight. Yeah. The potential next step, as we mentioned earlier on, is that Joe Parker and Moses Itauma fighting for the WBO. How do you see Moses Itauma going against Joseph Parker if that fight were made?
That's a good fight. That's a dangerous fight for Moses Itauma, because Joseph Parker's not finished and he's not washed up, he's not over the hill, right? If Joseph Parker were to fight Moses Itauma, well, you know what? That's a good one.
That's a very dangerous fight.
That's a very dangerous fight to take.
We all think Itauma's going to run through this division, though, don't we?
Yeah, but I also think that that's a perfect fight. If he comes through Dillian Whyte, I think Joseph Parker next is the perfect fight. Because how do you hold this kid back anymore?
Yeah, but
we've talked about that, and it's all about timing.
You know about matchmaking better than all of us. There's so many good matches though for him before he gets to that top
but this is the problem. When you're number one, and if that fight is ordered.
Yeah, but do you
don't walk away from that?
If Joseph Parker hasn't been knocked out by Usyk and then fights Itauma? Because if he gets done by Usyk, then he's damaged goods, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
I think if Moses beats,
but if he doesn't have that fight,
we all think Moses could probably do Dillian in 3 or 4 if we're expecting Moses to be the future heavyweight boxing. I think Moses will turn around really quickly. And I think Joseph Parker will wait for Moses before the end of the year. And I think we will get that fight. I think it's really risky matchmaking.
That's a very risky.
I tell you what, it's probably one of those where you're looking at it going, that's probably come a fight or 2 fights too soon.
Yeah, exactly.
Sometimes you know
You've got to take that leap of faith.
You have to take it, and that leap of faith.
That's what Ben Davis.
It is.
Well, Ben Davis was saying, at what point do people stop questioning if he's ready for it? Because every time we put him into a fight, that people say, is he ready for Dempsey McKean? Is he ready for this? And he flattens them. Was he ready for Marius Wack? Flattened him. Was he ready for Dempsey McKean? Flattened him. I'm not so sure that the progress was so vertical on Balogun to be able to say that he went to another level and ultimately was ready for that. But it must be a real yardstick Dillian, irrespective of whether Dillian is the Dillian that we once know or knew. He's still going to present the kind of challenges that would give the answer if he cleans him out and cleans him out.
Totally agree. And also, have you seen the clip of Dillian and what he was saying regards you?
I've had a little glance here, but let's everyone have a look at the clip before we comment on it.
I ain't got no problem with the guy. I'm quite sure.
Why do you think you got a problem with it? Well, I don't know about this. Go on, tell me.
Because I call him out and talking the way he does to the boxers once. I don't think it's right. And he's like, and I was like, bro, I'm just saying, like Spencer Oliver boxed the other kid that's on talkSPORT box. All these guys have boxed before, so they can have an opinion. Their opinion is actually valid. And he was like, I see Dillian Whyte saying this and the other. And what do you think about him and his career and where he's at? And I was like, hey, don't worry about me and my career, buddy. Worry about you. You know, I'm okay.
They asked you to go on the show?
Huh?
They asked you to go on talkSPORT?
I used to be in talkSPORT all the time, but, you know, I don't know. Things have sort of changed there and whatever, but nah. But things sort of changed there. I like Jim Whyte and Simon Jordan. I've gotten well with them, but I just think the way Simon Jordan speak about professional boxers sometimes is not very, as a journalist, you need to be unbiased.
I'm not a journalist. The tragedy of that clip is I can't quite understand what Dillian's on about, because the only thing I've ever said about Dillian is A, he should have been given an opportunity to fight earlier for a world title and was held in abeyance for too long. B, that he should have been given more money out of the Tyson Fury fight. And the only thing I made a tit of myself was suggesting that he should fight Fabio Wardley, given the fact he's managed him. So I accept that. But I don't think I'm unduly unpleasant about fighters. And we'd have Dillian. Would we have Dillian on the show?
Listen, we
Would
went on the show.
anything,
I called for it on Saturday. I said, look, come on the show. Let's have it out here. So, Dillian Whyte, if you're listening, mate, we do need you on this show.
Well, we don't need you, and we might give you
we
an
want you
opportunity.
on. We want you.
Listen, let's move on to your favourite head up the arse moment, which is Anthony Joshua.
Who are you talking to, me or
Sorry, I was talking the PR department.
Sorry,
you're probably.
I was looking at you then.
You're probably snivelling around the WhatsApp group to find your information. Have we got an opponent for Anthony Joshua?
No,
is it in the offing?
No opponent, and I've been on the WhatsApp group, and there's no mention of it on there as well. But I have heard rumours circulating of maybe a possibility that he fights Tony Yoka,
I heard
former
that, saw that, yeah.
Olympic gold medalist.
No.
Huh?
No.
Yeah.
No.
Yeah.
No, I mean...
No, it doesn't happen, or no, you don't want it?
No, I don't want it.
No.
So...
Where's the attraction in that?
For Anthony Joshua, right, let's do this.
No, don't you dare try and sell
let's do this.
Don't try and do this. And he turns around and looks
I think for Anthony Joshua, a warm-up fight before he goes in with... Because we know the Tyson Fury fight's going to happen 2026, but he has to stay active. You go Tony Yoka, both Olympic gold medalists, one 2012, one 2016. It's sort of commercially, you can sell that.
No.
Right.
Yeah, not to your hardcore boxing fan, but I'm thinking overall, I think it's a decent opponent. And I think it's a decent opportunity for both guys. Who would you put him in with next then?
Martin Bakole.
Martin Bakole?
Yeah, go for
Don't
it.
you think that's a dangerous fight?
Yeah, I do. And I think at this stage of AJ's career, what's AJ, 34, 35?
Yeah, but that's a good shout.
I think AJ needs to know as much as we need to know. We need to know because we keep second guessing, and I think there's a run left in AJ, but AJ needs to know. I think if he blows Tony Yoka away, which I think he would absolutely will do, what do we know? We don't know. I think if you're trying to sell the Tyson Fury fight, not that it needs selling, if AJ were to blow Bakole out of the water, then I mean it's all systems go for Fury and it becomes the biggest thing since sliced bread. You beat Yoka, I just feel like.
So where do you go on this, Simon?
It's got to beat a name.
What do you think?
It's a good point.
Listen, I've always felt that at the time, and probably it wasn't the right advice, given it was something that might have been challenging for Anthony, was to go back in and fight Daniel Dubois. If he wanted to vanquish the challenges that he had in his mind and felt that his performance was so below where he needed to be for a variety of different reasons, then Dubois was the only thing that was going to exercise the demons. But I was going to ask you, Duke, about Anthony and what you think he's got left in the tank. How many fights you think he's got left in him? And should he be going anywhere near people like Jake Paul?
That's what they're talking about, isn't it?
With money, isn't it?
Yeah, I've been hearing this. Yeah,
Huge amount of money.
You know, back in the day, Muhammad Ali boxed a wrestler or
Andre the Giant. Was he going against Andre the Giant?
No.
It was
Japanese
Japanese
guy, right?
Yeah,
the wrestler guy, right? So.
How old is Ali, and was that Ali at the end of his tether, though?
Yeah, he was right at the end of his career.
Okay.
Right?
That's where we're at with AJ.
Which is
right
exactly where we are with AJ. So this is like a repeat of history repeating itself in some ways. Should he fight a Jake Paul? I don't really know why that fight would come about.
Because
obviously for the financial gain, obviously. Yeah. But would Anthony Joshua fight Jake Paul? Because Jake Paul's not a boxer and he needs to fight a boxer.
Mate, because there's £100 million on the table.
I understand. From the financial.
We're not suggesting it's part of his rehabilitation process to get himself fit for a world title shot. We're suggesting that someone presents him with an opportunity that Jake Paul potentially provides. And I was speaking to one of his camp the other day and they were saying, we don't want him to do that, Anthony Joshua. It's legacy losing. No, it's not, because in 5 years' time,
nobody's going to remember.
And Anthony Joshua will have £200 million more in his bank balance. So if he wants to do that, do it.
AJ would seriously hurt Jake Paul.
Yeah,
like, seriously.
I'm sure
like,
he would.
No, in about a minute.
But he
if
would
he
never
wanted
get
to
it.
walk
But
over
he
to
would
him
turn
in a
it
minute.
into
Do you like the Tony Yoka fight, if that was the material? I'm just saying, do you like that fight?
I'll take
because
the lead.
I'll tell you why, because you could see Tony Yoka, Jake Paul,
Would you want to
versus
answer it for
Fury,
me,
that's
then?
where it is.
Well,
Yeah.
we'll see. We'll see.
Wait.
I mean, I told you what I like. I told you what I wanted for
I know,
Anthony
but
Joshua.
What
do you think
about Hrgovic if Hrgovic beats Adelaide?
Yeah, that's a good fight. It's a good fight. I like that.
Those type of names, I want to.
Yeah.
Do you
Boxing
think
names.
seriously in the back of his mind and in their camp that he's got buyer's seller's regret about looking at Daniel, the performance that Daniel put up against Usyk, against the performances that he put up against Usyk, and the second fight he got closer to Usyk, didn't he, Anthony? Do you think he looks at the Dubois fights, and any of you can answer this question, all of you, and thinks, well, I can beat Dubois now as a result of what I just saw on Saturday night?
Does Anthony Joshua think he can beat Dubois as a result of what he's seen on Saturday night?
Yeah.
No.
You don't think so?
No, I don't think he does.
See, I disagree with that totally, mate.
Well,
Like,
Duke doesn't understand the purpose of this show. We are AJ fans and we're on this side.
I get that.
But AJ truly believed the first one, mate, but he just got caught heavyweight boxing, he got chinned, right? That doesn't mean that he couldn't reverse that if they went in again.
Yeah, but I think he's probably more fragile now, if that's the right word, AJ now.
Against the guy that put him down.
Against a guy that's already beaten him. You know,
Understood.
AJ, for me now, like say, maybe the Bacoli fight, that's a good shot, because he could probably, I see Anthony Joshua beating Bacoli to get his confidence
Especially a 300-pound Bacoli that moves.
to get his confidence
He won't be 300
back.
pounds if he fights Anthony Joshua.
Yeah,
he won't
to get his confidence back.
And
And then,
against a Jagba or against...
No, he'd be
and then
slimmer.
Joseph Parker.
if he fought Bacoli, then by then maybe all the 4 belts become vacant, and then he fights somebody for a vacant title.
Can I ask you just out? I mean, maybe it's a relatively stupid question, but for the purpose of mentioning Anthony Joshua and getting the clicks that the producers desperately wants, do you think that the loss to Dubois in the manner that he lost was worse than any of his defeats that he's had previously? Because obviously we saw the meltdown against Usyk, and then we saw the situation with Ruiz. Because I think Ruiz was the lightning rod that set Anthony Joshua on a different pathway than he was destined to go on.
That was his worst defeat.
The Ruiz fight.
Oh, absolutely.
Even though he's gotten cleaned out by Daniel Dubois, he wasn't cleaned out by Ruiz. And
he was a favourite, like Mike Tyson was going in against Buster Douglas in that fight. He was a huge favourite against Ruiz. And I think that was a massive...
So despite the fact he got battered around a ring for 5 rounds in front of 90,000 people that were there to basically celebrate his real rival back on the throne, you think, or we think, that the most damaging defeat for Anthony Joshua was the first one to Ruiz.
Yes, definitely. Because there were people that believed that was the wrong move, boxing Dubois anyway. There was a lot of people felt that Dubois was going to win that fight. With the Ruiz fight, I don't think anyone saw that coming. No one.
So, somebody told me that Dubois was going to beat AJ, and it proved to be that way. But the Ruiz defeat was far worse.
Yeah.
Far worse.
Yeah. We'll get into some action from the weekend, but let's have a little clip. Let's have a little look at a clip of Adam Azim speaking and see what we make of this.
Coming very soon.
Okay.
And a lot of people are asking about when I'm next.
Tell Ben to hurry up or you'll be with Frank soon.
Yeah.
An awkward silence there, but listen.
Obviously, you never know, you might be right. So,
Right, besides Hamza getting his spoon in there and stirring it up, what do you make of that?
Listen, I think
Is it the byproduct
I've
of
actually
Ben
bumped into Adam Azim. I saw him last week at the fight, and he sort of doesn't know where he's at right now. You know, we're talking about one of the leading prospects of the country here. He doesn't know quite when he's fighting, what's coming up, you know, what the situation is with boxers. So you can understand the frustration.
Why not?
Yeah, so he's going, look,
the question.
I'm going to have to, you know, get out
But
there.
did you ask him why not then?
Yeah, of course I did.
So what was his answer then? Why don't you understand where you're going?
Because he's waiting to see what Ben Shalom's doing. And Ben Shalom's gone...
In terms of
just
broadcasters?
disappeared. Like where has he gone? And in terms of broadcast, in terms of dates, fights, and all that. So, like, I can understand the frustrations of this kid because he had some good momentum with him.
Yeah.
And now he's sort of stuck in no man's land. So, you know, it's going to be interesting to see what happens with him because the longer he's out, the more difficult it's going to become.
Of course it is.
When was the last time he fought? It's not been ages since he last fought.
No, it's not. But he was supposed to fight Oakwell and he got pulled, remember, from that fight.
Yeah.
The British Boxing Board of Control pulled his opponent. So it has been quite a while that he's actually not... And it's
what was the last fight he had?
to.
Howard Davis?
Huh?
What was the last fight he had? Howard Davis?
Yeah.
Right.
Wow, is it that long?
Yeah.
Okay, that's a long time. And look, there'll be a lot of people in this situation. Fraser Clark will be thinking, what's going on? Ben Whittaker will think, what's going on? Caroline Dubois. Ben built a good stable of fighters that will become household names that are going to be like, okay, we're going soon. And there must be something in their contracts where if you don't provide us with employment...
Lipinets in February was the last.
Lipinets, okay, yeah.
Okay.
So if you don't provide us with employment in the next few months, we can speak to other promoters. And
I think a lot of these guys, though, correct me if I'm wrong here, Simon, you might know more about it than me, but I think a lot of these guys, their contracts, written into those contracts was this Sky TV deal that they had, and now with Ben Schlom
we don't know
not
that,
seemingly to be on Sky.
We don't know that, but if they did and Ben put himself
Don't we?
in it, well, we don't know that, but if we do, if Ben allowed that to be the situation, then he's going to reap the whirlwind, isn't he? As a result of the fact he's no longer able to deliver Sky. I would imagine that if Ben's got any brains about him, and some people might question whether he has or he hasn't, right? He would have put in there conditionality around broadcasting rather than a specific broadcaster. We know that the Josh Boazzi decision was made to leave Eddie and Matchroom because they went to DAZN and he wanted to be on Sky, and that might have been specific to Sky for Josh Boazzi. But if Ben has allowed it to be every contract, Sky specific, he's putting himself in a right state as a hostage to fortune, isn't he?
he would have sold them all on Sky. The reason all these fighters would have signed to him would have been Sky Sports,
but
not
it would be
Boxer and Ben
But
Schlom.
surely he would have been careful, or maybe he wouldn't, who's to know, that ultimately if he can't deliver Sky because it's not in his gift forever, because he didn't have Sky as his broadcaster in perpetuity, did he? He would be sensible to put in there, we must broadcast with a mainstream broadcaster, and then allow himself the bandwidth to find it might have been TNT moved to, it might have been DAZN. Because if he moved to DAZN, would he have immediately lost all his fighters? No, not necessarily. We didn't get a chance to talk about it last week, but and obviously we were universally unhappy with the idea that this fight was going to happen, but we may have to row back on it, which was Manny Pacquiao fighting Mario Barrios. And the performance that he put in, and well, I think he won the fight. I don't know what you think, Duke. What do you think about the whole?
I thought Barrios won.
Did you?
But I thought Barrios won.
Did you?
Yeah, just nicked it. There wasn't a lot in it, Simon, but I thought he nicked it. I wish Manny Pacquiao would walk away from the sport.
What, even that version that we saw him? Because he wasn't the version that we saw him 4 or 5 years ago where he looked done, finished.
Yeah, he's an old man. He's a granddad.
Do you know what we was all guilty of here? And you as well.
Granddad,
why am I? I'm going to bring you in.
No.
What we was all guilty of here is like, when everyone's saying that was a terrible decision and Pacquiao was robbed there. Actually, if you rewatch it now, knowing, right, and you take that away from it, the rounds that were going close, and you're right, Duke, what you said there, Barrios probably nicked a lot of those rounds, but we were so engrossed with, I can't believe Pacquiao's doing this, so you were giving him the rounds. So we were sort of guilty of a fight that was very close, and we all went Pacquiao. Because I initially thought Pacquiao won that fight. When I watched it back again, you go, there is an argument for Barrios to have won that. But taking nothing away from Pacquiao...
I don't take nothing away from him.
I think it's a bad reflection in the welterweight division. I know Brian Norman's the king, but how on earth Mario Barrios draws or wins it by a round over someone that's not been in his peak for 15 years?
That's exactly right.
Not fought, but in his peak. Like Pacquiao in his peak was a whirlwind when he fought, Cotto, Hudson, etc.
Right.
That's 15 years ago.
And how is
Barrios going life and death with him?
Jumped all over fighting Barrios.
Absolutely.
Yes.
But anyway, let's have a listen to Manny himself before we ruminate further.
Manny, with the way that you performed tonight, did you feel like this was enough to coax Floyd Mayweather out and maybe you guys get a rematch right here in this same building? Do you feel like that this version of you beats the version of Floyd Mayweather that exists today?
It's hard to talk about the fighter who retired already. If he comes out and go sign the contract and we'll fight. I mean, let's fight again if he wants. I have no problem with that. I'm active now. I don't pick my opponent. I don't, I fight them all in my weight division.
I mean, pretty soon we're going to start exhuming fighters and getting them to fight.
Them up.
Where are you on that idea, Duke?
No, I would love to see Manny Pacquiao just walk away from the sport. I don't want to see Mayweather against Pacquiao again. Mayweather beat him at his prime, and they were both in it. Yeah, they're both. He's done it, and I don't see Mayweather.
You like the idea of that fight, Addy?
You know what it is? No,
it's money, though,
but seeing how many people got excited about the idea of Mike Tyson coming back to fight Jake Paul.
But
Manny Pacquiao,
silly fools like him who try to sell it as a live one.
Manny Pacquiao versus Mayweather on Netflix would do insane numbers.
Yeah,
No, I'm not. I certainly don't want it. But
I'd seen something. It would not do anywhere near the numbers that Jake Paul, Mike Tyson done. That is for sure, because Mike Tyson is that icon. Like Manny Pacquiao versus Floyd Mayweather. To watch that return of a combined age of nearly 100. No thanks. Like, look, we've seen it once. Like, we don't need to see that again. Come on.
So that's Mike Tyson.
Come on.
Yeah, absolutely.
I wanted to see the ring walk, that's all. That's all I sold it on. And I sold it on that, by the way. I said I wanted to see the ring walk.
No, you didn't.
You're rewriting history.
And then I watched it and I went,
but that was the highlight of the fight. That was the highlight of the fight, though, wasn't it? The ring walk.
Absolutely. Talking about a substantial fight on the weekend, a real substantial fight was Claressa Shields.
Yeah.
That was an impressive performance, wasn't it?
Yeah, it was an impressive performance. Daniel's come to fight, to be fair. She was decent. She had a good game plan. She went on a bike for the first 4 or 5 rounds.
I'm about to say, that was the game plan, to run.
Yeah, but she turned it around, though. She dug her heels in the second half of the fight. She started holding her ground, putting Claressa on the back foot. And, you know, I thought it was a standout performance again from Claressa. You know, she's the class act. You see the way she was sort of like picking those body shots. The shot selection is like first class. But look, Daniel's had the game plan, but it was just not good enough.
And before we go, we should mention Ryan Garner, not Gloria Gaynor, as you described it earlier on, singing "I Will Survive." But Ryan Garner, I don't know why I even bother opening trap about picking for fights, because whatever fight I pick is the right one. I picked Reece Bellotti because I felt his performance against Michael Gomez Jr. was so impressive, but I undermined the outcomes that Ryan Garner would bring to bear. That was an impressive performance from Ryan, wasn't it?
Yeah, it was, and I've sort of learned to go against whatever you say anyway.
would,
So
yeah.
as soon as you went for Bellotti, I thought, it's a close fight, but I'm going to have to go with Gaynor.
Except of course when it's free Oasis tickets, right? Then it's okay for you.
Then you'll go with me. That's another conversation. Whole different conversation. But look, I thought, Ryan Garner was a good performance. You can't deny that. I think it was calculated, mate. And I think that what we saw there was that this kid now is on the fringe of world class.
He's on the
problem he has, very quickly though, in that division is O'Shaquie Foster, Raymond Ford, Kakachi, Navarrete.
Nobody said he's going to win the world. Nobody said he's going to win the world.
But he's got every single belt, isn't he?
Yeah.
No one said he's going to win it, but he's there.
It's the way he's developing.
He can get a world title.
Good numbers down the South Coast as well, so he's that guy now that can maybe bring boxing back.
But we've seen Ray Ford. I mean, we've seen Ray Ford get beat by Nick Paul, so we know that the Ray Ford that we once, you know, when Nick Paul fought Ray Vargas and won that fight, and Ray Vargas was telling everyone that he was unfortunate he had to fight in Nick Paul's backyard, which no one could quite work out given it was in Saudi. And then we saw Ray Ford lose to Nick Paul. You don't put Ryan Garner in that world of opportunity now
not
to
yet.
name Ray Ford.
Not yet. No, not yet. I mean, there are good fights out there for him, and look, it's Frank, so Frank will manage him correctly. I think he's a couple away from mixing it with that lot.
Yeah, I totally agree. Totally agree. Like, look, what we're seeing with Ryan is that he's improving all the time. You know, he's developing British Commonwealth, now European champion. That's going to add to his...
Confidence is going to grow, isn't it?
Yeah, absolutely. His confidence is going to grow as well. And shot selection now, I thought that was the best I'd seen him by some way.
He boxed quite smart.
If you look at those improvements, you go, the next 12 months, it might be time to let this kid go. You know, let him go. So, look, I think he has the potential to go on. Definitely. He's definitely become a world-class fighter.
Good luck to him. Right, that's it for episode 131 of Talk Boxing with Simon Jordan Spencer. Thank you to Duke. And thank you for muscling in, Addy, when you weren't wanted. Of course you were wanted. And we'll see everyone next week.